Hey, so in this episode, I talk with Alice Chen, who is a serial entrepreneur, amazing badass, and we're going to talk about her latest company, MEXI Seltzer, and what they're doing to change the seltzer industry overall with natural products, unique flavors, and frankly, just a better product. All right, so enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the other side. Hi, Alice. I'm thrilled to be talking to you today. We've known each other now for a year and a half, and you are such a badass woman to begin with, and you're a serial entrepreneur. You've built and invested in different businesses, and today we're going to talk about MEXI Seltzer, which is your latest company, and I'm really excited to hear about how that's going and what you're doing to innovate at MEXI. But first, if you don't mind, maybe just tell us a little bit about you and who you are and what you do.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Reb. And thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here and share my journey. So I'm from Vancouver, BC. As you said, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm a Canadian lawyer by background. So I practiced in M&A law at a big law firm. And, at the big law firm, your life is as depicted on a lot of TV shows. And I wanted more autonomy. And generally, I was seeking more adventure, just something more interesting than that kind of professional corporate life. So in 2010, I left the field of law to begin my journey as a serial founder. And I never looked back, and it's been the best ride ever. And and now with MEXI, kind of going to the next level challenges, but next level rewards as well.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe just really quick, what other types of businesses have you built or invested in?
It's interesting because, now that I'm in my 14th year of being an entrepreneur, I look back at my journey and most of my businesses have fallen into two general buckets. So one would be alcohol. So my first business was in wine export. So helping Canadian wine
Ah, so
producers.
there's a theme here.
There's a theme. I can tell you my story about why that is. So either it's been alcohol, my first business being wine export. I set up this export agency to help Canadian wine producers export to the Greater China region. We did really well with that business. I was named top 40 under 40 in 2013. And we were able to export about 8% of the Canadian dollar value. So
Wow.
it was a great first entrepreneurial experience. So then from there, I went back into finance and investments type businesses across different things. So tax shelter structuring, there's managing private equity fund, just different things, managing family offices. From there, then I think when I'm in finance, I tend to drink on a regular basis because I'm entertaining people or networking more. And so inevitably that takes me back into the alcohol world. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. So nowadays, aside from, a couple of cans of MEXI per week, I actually don't drink as much. So my life is actually healthier when I'm in the alcohol business.
Oh, well, I can tell you finance is not the only industry that has the hold on alcohol. Marketing requires lots of drinking as well.
Oh,
So,
okay.
uh, well, so let's talk about MEXI. I love MEXI. For me, it's so unique because there aren't a ton of tequila seltzers out there, and especially ones like yours. Tell us a little bit about what makes MEXI different from the other
Sure.
seltzers out there.
Yeah, so a lot of the times people ask me, well, how did MEXI come about? Like, how did you just decide to start a tequila seltzer company? Well, I mean, I started out as a consumer looking for better for you options. So I remember back in 2020, this is beginning of COVID, everyone was buying something at the grocery stores and drinking at home. I was looking for something that's lighter, that has a sparkling or bubbly kind of mouthfeel, and just something that's generally healthier. So, I mean, just like anybody, just like everyone else, I appreciate a clean buzz, and a good time, and so to achieve that and yet not lose kind of a high performance capability on a day to day basis, you want to kind of keep yourself in a good state, right? So I was looking for really good options for myself, and I find that so back then I saw a lot of hard seltzers on the market. And so I was really curious,
Mhm.
what does hard seltzer mean? Like, why don't they tell me it was made from vodka. It was made from gin. What's going on here? And typically, I was a fan of tequila already because it's made from a plant versus, like,
Hmm.
for example, whiskey. I used to drink, coming from Canada, home of like Crown Royale. That's made of grains, right? And I've never been a vodka
Oh,
fan for some reason. Gin, I kind of felt so about. So I was really looking to buy a hard seltzer that's made of tequila. So in 2020, I didn't see any brands. I saw maybe like a couple brands. I think I saw one from Salsa, which is a Mexican distillery that produces
mm-hmm.
tequila.
Yep.
I saw very little, and I saw maybe some competitive brands, but very little. So as I looked into it, my co-founder and I realized that this is a big market gap that hasn't been filled, and so that's how we just decided to kind of jump in. We're very passion driven entrepreneurs, so yeah, so we just kind of took the leap of faith and went into this field and made something that we're so proud to say that we would drink, on a regular basis.
Yeah. No, and I really appreciate that. The hard seltzers are so popular, but they never set in my stomach very well.
No.
So when, yeah, you introduced MEXI to me, I was just, it was not only the taste, you guys have some of the most unique flavors, but it, like you said, it's natural. It didn't mess with my stomach like a lot of the other seltzers do. And I stay away from seltzers except for MEXI.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, and the reason why I think your body doesn't have a good reaction is because most of the other hard seltzers are made from malt, or it could be a fermentation from sugarcane or something else. And a lot of times, because of that type of um, I guess manufacturing method, you have to mask certain type of taste, and so they then use a lot of chemical flavoring or synthetic sugars, and that's why I think those ingredients don't sit well in your body.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It really does. So you you and your partner, you decide you're gonna start a beverage company. This is a super competitive space. What maybe you can tell us a little bit of just like how did you get in and what lessons have you learned so far along the way?
Yeah, so like I said, we just kind of jumped in, and maybe sometimes, when you don't know what you don't know, that's a blessing,
Yep.
because if you know too much, I think just like anything else in life, if you know too much, often that stops people. So in our
Yeah.
case, we didn't know a ton about this industry, and that's why we went in with a lot of enthusiasm. We took a trip, our first trip to Jalisco, Mexico. That's where tequila is produced. Was March 2020. So I remember March
Oh my
16th, the
God.
day that the world declared that we were in COVID. We were in Mexico and wondering, okay, like, I think it's time to come home. So we just really embody that MEXI spirit. I think MEXI, beyond being a drink, beyond being a really kick-ass drink, it's a spirit, right? It's a spirit of that California, Mexico kind of exploration, adventure, like freedom loving adventure spirit in life. And so we carry our business with that spirit. Like everything we do it with the MEXI spirit. And so, it's a very challenging journey. And now that we're a couple years in, we're in the market for about a year and a quarter. But in terms of having conceptualized the business, working through building the supply chain from Mexico all the way into California, it's a very highly regulated space, being alcohol and being tequila being regulated by the Mexican government. So every step of the way, we're learning something new, and every day there's a new challenge that we haven't seen before. So I don't know what my challenge is tomorrow or next week or 3 months from now, but I think as long as we continue to go forth with that Mexi spirit, we're going to do okay. And so that's kind of the conviction that our entire team has.
Oh, I love that, the Mexi spirit. If somebody's watching and they maybe not even getting into beverage, but just product or working in Mexico, what bit of advice do you have for them? Like, what's one thing you would, as a takeaway, that they should know or look into if they're already in business or even getting started?
Sure. I think generally, when I speak to, young people or people that are interested in doing career pivot and maybe from a corporate job, leaving corporate job and going into foundership. And I think my advice is always to just, you have to just try, you have to just jump in, because it's like riding a bike, right? You can read all kinds of books, you can watch people ride bikes, but unless you just get on the bike and start riding, you just don't know if you're made for it, and you don't know how to do it, right? So you, a lot of the times you just have to learn by doing. And so it's no different than starting any business, including an alcoholic beverage business. You just kind of have to jump in and start.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And you mentioned earlier that sometimes it's good you don't know what you don't know, because if you did, you wouldn't jump in. So I think that's really great advice. It's like just being bold and have that courage to try it out and know that you're going to make mistakes. It happens, right?
Yeah,
And don't
that's
beat
part
yourself
of life.
up. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you learn and you
Business.
move on. So.
Yeah. Exactly.
I love it. I love it. Well, as we wrap up here, I know you have an offer for our audience. What is it?
Yes. So yeah. So if you're curious to try MEXI, please go to mexiseltzer.com, or follow us on Instagram at mexiseltzer or TikTok. And you can use the code adventure10 when you log onto the website to get 10% off.
Great. I love it. That's really helpful. And also, if they could go online, but what stores? Where can they find it if they want to just go out to the store and grab some?
Yeah, so we're in hundreds of stores in California, including all the Whole Foods in Southern California, including Total Wine. If there's a neighborhood store that I typically shop at and you don't see Mexi, then tell them that you want this kick-ass product, represent it, and we'll make that happen.
Yep. I love it. I love it. All right. So one more time, it's Action 10 for the discount code for 10% off. Go to mexiseltzer.com. And any last words before we wrap up?
Well, I think, live that Mexi lifestyle, live that Mexi spirit, and go forth with no fear and just keep going.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Alice. And for Rebel, if you want to revolutionize your marketing, you've got to update your content and have great content, like we're doing right here with our video podcast show. And if you're wondering as a business, should you be doing video? Should you be doing podcasting? What else should you be doing? And you don't know? Not a problem. You can schedule a 30-minute consultation with the Rebel team and we'll help strategize with you. It's true. Podcasting and doing video isn't for everybody, but most businesses can benefit from it. All right. Well, thanks again. And so happy to talk to you, Alice.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Nice to see you, Reb.